Hello and welcome to Omni CMS Training. In this video I will walk you through how to modify your website. We will be going over how to navigate around Omni CMS and how to edit your website. So the first thing you want to do is you want to log into your environment. To do this you want to navigate to the URL you have access to. Once you do that you want to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page and you want to click on the text that reads last updated. If you're already authenticated through the Fresno State environment, it will take you directly to Omni CMS. But in this example, I'm going to log in. Once you log in through Fresno State environment, or you just log in regularly, you're going to be brought to this Omni CMS page. As you can see, it does look a bit different. Your website is now condensed within this frame right here, and there is a lot of other items around the page. And I will be going over those in depth here in a second, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to briefly go over the navigation bar. So on the top navigation bar, we're going to be in 3 different tabs, but for the most part, we're probably going to be living in our whole Omni CMS experience. So I'm going to start with the dashboard. So at the top we have this navigation bar and I'm going to click on dashboard and click on my dashboard, and you're going to be brought to this page right here. This dashboard is really helpful. As you can see, there's a few different items on here and I will be going over that here in a second. Here in this top area we see that we have our name and we have this area right here which reads recently visited. And what this is going to display your most recently visited items that you were looking at or what you were editing. This may be helpful to you, it may not. I do totally understand it's a quick view, so as I demonstrated earlier, you would just go to dashboard, my dashboard, and that's how you would get to this area right here. This next area we have my checked out content. I feel that this is an important item. If you're not going to use anything else on this page, my checked out content will definitely be helpful for you. This is going to display every page you have checked out. What I mean by that, all pages are a check-in and check-out system. So if I have a page checked out, that means it's locked to me. If my colleague has a page checked out, it's locked to them. So we want to try to do our part and check the pages back in when we're not using them. But there may be times where you purposely want to lock a page because you're waiting for edits from someone, or you just don't want no one to go in there and modify anything, which makes sense. But there may be times where a colleague may accidentally lock a page and they go on vacation or something. In that case, what you would do is you would submit a work order to me and my team, and we would kick them out of the page for you. And I'll show you here in a second how to submit a work order. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to check this page back in to demonstrate this my checked out content widget. All you have to do is click on the light bulb and it will check the page back in. So you don't have to go find that specific page. All the pages you have checked out will be in this area right here. And going down the row we have activity and inbox. Activity just lets you know what's happening in the environment. Inbox is messages from the system. We may send messages here from time to time, but if anything we'll reach out directly to your Fresno State email if we do need to get in contact with you. Now what I'm going to go over is the add-ons drop down. So I'm going to click on add-ons in the top navigation bar and then I'm going to go to work order. As I mentioned before, this work order comes to the team. I would refrain from sending messages directly to the team. The reason why is because that goes to one person, but when you submit a work order like this, it's going to go to the whole team and you have a better chance of getting your request tended to faster than you do an email. To fill the form out, just fill out what is needed. So the type of issue, we have a few different options right here. Just give us a description, phone number, definitely provide the URL so we know what we're going to be working on, and just give us a description for the request. We have this attachment option right here if you do want to add any photos or the screenshot of the issue that you see. There is no issue too small or too big. We're more than happy to assist with any type of issue that you may need assistance with. Now I'm going to go to the add-ons tab again and I'm going to go to the new design resources. New design resources is a one-stop shop for the most part of all the different items we offer in Omni CMS. What this means is we have a list of components and snippets that you could view and see if it looks good to put on your website, and there is tips on these particular items on how to add them to your website, such as the image dimensions we recommend and so on. So I'm going to just go into components And as mentioned before, it shows what it will potentially look like. So I have this section intro right here, I have buttons, I have this to design boxes right here, and whatever it's named right here, that's what is going to show up in the bank when you're searching in the component area. I'm going to navigate back one level, and we have the snippets button right here also, if you do want to check that out. Right here in this dropdown, we have updates to the snippets and components. What this is we're constantly updating the snippets and components, so feel free to navigate back here periodically just to see what was updated. We do have links to what was updated, and you do have a preview there. And finally, at the bottom of the page, we have a how-to. It's a brief overview on how to add the snippets and components to the page. I will be going over it during this training, but feel free to navigate to this video if you want to see a bit more in depth. For the most part, I'm just going to show you the functions on how to add them to your page and how to modify them. But this video will go in depth if you are interested in that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the content area. This is located in the top navigation bar, and to get there I'm going to click on content and I'm going to go to pages. What this is this is where all of your websites, your folders, your documents, images, and all your sections will live in this area. Once again, this is in content and pages. And as you see, I have a few different items in here. Let's just assume that this is your website in your real environment. Of course, you're going to have more items, but for now, let's just assume that this is your environment. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to introduce how to upload documents and images to your environment, which you could use at a later time to add them to your web page. The documents and images folder are somewhat similar. The only difference is they only allow certain file types. So for documents, we only allow document file types such as PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, and Word. Images, we only allow image file types such as JPEG, PNG, and GIF. And when you do try to upload something, it will tell you which extensions are allowed. So let's navigate to the documents folder. As you see, there's nothing in here. This is a fresh environment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload something. On the far right side at the top, we have this upload button right here. I'm going to click that, and we get brought to this dialog box right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to browse for a file. I'm going to click the plus add button, and this is going to allow me to search for a file. Feel free to search around for your file. I'm going to grab this PDF right here. I'm going to click open, and as mentioned before, these are the allowed extensions right here. And here's a summary of what my file is. If I need to remove or rename, I just go to the far right side, click on more actions, and I have those options right there. But everything's good here, so I'm going to click start upload. And at the bottom left, we have a quick little summary of what's happening. So upload is in progress and the file was uploaded successfully. Perfect. So that's the first step. I added it to my environment. Now the next step, which is very, very important, is you need to publish this. If you don't publish something, it's not going to be viewable on your page, and it's going to be a broken link, or it's not going to display correctly. So that's what we have to do. We have to publish this file. To publish something, what you want to do is you want to go to that particular item, and on the far right side there's going to be three dots. When you hover over it, it reads more actions. You click that, then you go to the publish drop down, and then you click the publish button. You get brought to this dialog box. You don't need to worry about all that extra stuff right now. I'll go over that later, but for now I'm going to click publish. And in the bottom left, we see that publish is in progress, and then I get the green check mark, which is letting me know that the file has been published. And there we go, our file is published. Now I could add it to a page, and we are good to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my images folder, and I'm going to upload an image. To navigate to my images folder, I'm going to go to the breadcrumb up here. I recommend using the breadcrumb. It's going to be super convenient for you. You can use your back buttons, but sometimes you may not go back to the specific item that you were at. So I recommend using the breadcrumbs up here. So I'm going to click on student 1 because that's where my environment is. And now I'm going to navigate to the images folder. Now in the images folder, I do have a few extra things right here. I already have images uploaded, and I have a folder. You could actually create folders in the documents folder also, and I have one in images right here. What this does is it helps you organize your different types of documents or images. So for example, you may want to add a folder that is strictly staff photos, so you can name it the staff name and the year, and then you could drop all the photos in there if you'd like. To create a folder, what you want to do is you go to the far right side, click the plus new button, and then you have this create new folder right here. You click that and you give your folder a name. It's only lowercase, so you could just type your name out. I'm just going to type test, click create, give it a second for it to create, and here it is right here, test. To upload to it, you just click into it, and now you could upload something there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to my main images folder, and I'm going to upload something here. It's the same process, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click upload button in the top right, and I'm going to click the plus add. If you do have the luxury, you could actually drag and drop to this window right here, but I'm just going to search, so I'm going to click plus add, and I'm going to just add this photo right here, and I'm going to click open. And as you see, the text is red, meaning that there is an error, and the status will let you know what that error is. As you could see that the file name is already in use because I uploaded a photo similar to this name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those features, I'm going to rename. I'm going to go to more actions, I'm going to click rename, and I'm just going to put V2 just for version 2. I wouldn't recommend this. I would probably give it a more useful descriptive name. So I'm just going to click off of it, and I'm going to click start upload, and there we go. My file has been uploaded. And what I need to do now, once again, this is very important, is I need to publish. Not sure if you saw earlier, but in the status area we have this text right here. It reads unpublished. This is very, very helpful to let you know that something has not been published yet. So as you can see, everything has been published right here except for this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to publish this. Once again, go to more actions on that item, click publish, and publish again, and publish once more. Just wait for it to be published. Once again, the bottom left lets us know that it has been published with the green check mark, and we no longer see that badge right here, so we are good to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to a web page, and we're going to begin to look at that and see all the different features we have on there and begin to edit. So I'm going to go to my student 1 folder by selecting the breadcrumb item right here, and I'm going to go to this index page. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to take me directly to this page, and this is where I could begin to work on it. Before we get into the edit mode, I'm going to go over a few different buttons that we see on the page. Before I do that, I'm going to check the page out. As I mentioned before, pages are a check-in, check-out system, so this page is open to anyone right now because the light bulb is off. If it was checked out to someone, you would see a red lock, and when you hover over that red lock, it'll let you know who it's checked out to. So I'm just going to click the light bulb on, and now it is checked out to me, and it is locked to me, meaning no one else could go on there and work on it. So I'm going to start on this left side over here. I'm going to click on preview. And what this is just gives me a preview of what the page will potentially look like if I were to go live with it. I'm going to click on edit. Edit is identical for the most part. The only difference is we could see the edit buttons that will allow us to edit the page. Properties. Properties is a quick view for more information of the page. Since this is a sample page, I just gave it some sample text. But when you create a brand new page, you have the option to place all this info in here. Scroll down a bit, we do have some more options right here. This is how you could change the breadcrumb of your page. The breadcrumb is going to be on your website, and it's always going to drill down to whatever page it is. So for example, this is labeled student 1, but this is where you could change the breadcrumb information on your own. Once again, it is in properties, and it is in the custom settings when you scroll down halfway to the page. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to versions. Every time you publish a page, it's going to save a snapshot. What that snapshot is called a version. So as you see, there's tons of different versions right here. My name is on there. I created a lot of different versions, and I published them, and I took some screenshots of them. What versions are is you could think of them as snapshots. Every time you publish a page, it's going to take a snapshot of what that page has on it, such as the links and the images, and it's going to store it. So you could always revert back to different versions if you'd like. To revert back to a version, what you would do is you would find that specific version, go to the 3 dots, and click revert. That will move it all the way back to what that page used to look like in the past. To know which current version you're on, it will always be at the top for the most part. As you see, it is a different tint from the other rows, but we have the text right here that indicates that this is live, the date, the time, and who published it. And there's a description right here. I'll be going over that here in a second. when we publish something, we have the option to give a description. This may be helpful for you, it may not. It's totally optional and up to you. You'll see in a second right now when I add a description to the page. And going down the row, on the far right side, we have a few options over here. So I'm going to start over here on more actions. When you click this, you could actually save a version of the page. So as I mentioned, every time you publish, it saves a version, but you could manually save a version. This may be helpful to you if you're going to do a complete redesign of your page and you're not sure if it's going to work out. So you save a version of the current page and you go and make your edits and stuff like that, and you're not too happy with it, so you could always revert back to that version where you first started. So that is very helpful also. So once again, this is a manual way to do it, and every time you publish something, it will automatically save a version for you. Now going to the left, we have this green publish button right here. We have this drop down. When you click on it, you have the option to schedule, and that's what I'm going to click. And you could schedule a publish at any day or time. This is helpful if there's some time sensitive information and it needs to go live, let's say at like 12 o'clock in the morning and you're not going to be up. You could always schedule a publish for that. I'm going to go to the edit mode real quick so I could see what I'm going to publish. And this is it. So I'm good with this, so I'm just going to publish this page. I'm going to click publish. You shouldn't see any of this stuff. If you do, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. But you will definitely see version description. And I'm going to add a version description for this training. So I'm just put Jonathan made a change and went live. Of course, you probably want to be a bit more descriptive of what's happening, but this is just for training purposes. So I'm going to click publish. And keep an eye on the bottom left of the page. And there is our page that got published. I'm going to click view a new window, and this is how we're going to get the real URL of our page. Click view a new window. It's going to take us to the page. Of course, I didn't make any changes, but if I did make any changes, they would be here. Throughout the training, I'm going to make some saves and publishes, and we'll see those changes live. Now what we're going to do is we are going to get into the fun stuff. We are going to work on editing the page. So what you want to do is, of course, navigate to the page you want to edit. Make sure you click on the edit tab up here with the button like this, and this will reveal the green edit button. So I'm going to click this green edit button, which is main content. That's what I want to modify. And you'll see that the page breaks down. So I no longer have those floating text columns. Now I could see that they're actually in columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the toolbar up here from left to right. So this first item, this is our save button. If you'd like, you could click save and exit here, and this will save all the changes you made and it will get you into the preview mode. Exit without saving means that you just want to get out of the edit mode and it'll take you back to your most recent stage, which will probably be the edit mode but the preview version. Then we have restore last draft. What this is if you're working on something, it'll go back to it. Then we have cut, copy, paste. We have find and replace, undo, redo, spell check, have clear formatting, bold, italic, underline, strike through. And what this is, this editor, it's called a what you see is what you get editor. Pretty much what you see on the toolbar is what's going to happen in your editor. So for example, if I highlight this text and if I click on the B, then I'll get bold text. And once again, I'll highlight this, I'll click off the B, and it will just revert back to regular paragraph text. So that's what's going to happen when you are highlighting text or have your cursor someplace. It's going to initiate whatever function that you are clicking on, and that's what's going to happen to your text. So once again, going down the row, we have the bullet list. So if I click this, I have bulleted text. Then we have a list with numbers right here, so I could sort by numbers. If I want to toggle that off, I just toggle that off. We have the block quote option, we have a superscript option, subscript, and we have insert edit link, remove link, mail to. Going down to the next row, we have paragraph, but when I click on this, I have a lot of other options. And what this is how we're going to be sorting the different headings on our pages. And this is very important that we sort things in order from 1 through 6. We never want to use 2 heading 1s, but we could use multiple heading 2s, 3s, and 4s, and so on. So every page is always going to have one heading 1, and it's always going to be at the very top of the page. The reason why I'm emphasizing this is because this is very important for accessibility reasons. This is how a screen reader is going to navigate around our website, and we don't want the screen reader to bounce around the different pages, so try to keep an order from 1 through 6. Like, you're never going to have a heading 4 right after a heading 1. You're going to have a heading 2, 3, and then finally a 4. And once again, when you click on the particular text, you see how this changes right here, indicating that this is a heading 1. Going down the row, we have these other items right here. So you could do a few things with your images and your text. Going down the row, we have the insert edit image right here, which is going to allow us to navigate to our image that we uploaded and add it to our page. We have a horizontal line if you want to separate some information, insert line break. We have special characters right here if you'd like to add those to your page. We have this paragraph tool, which actually is pretty helpful because it lets you know the headings and text and stuff like that on your page. So when you have tons of different things, you can kind of get a quick view. As you see right here in the top left, it says H1, and this reads P, meaning it's paragraph text. So I'm going to toggle that off. And then this puzzle piece icon right here, this is the snippets. This is how we're going to be adding all the different types of snippets to our page. And this item right here, this is for assets. You may not have this, which is perfectly fine. You don't need to worry about that. And this item right here, these are the components. These are how we're going to be adding all the cool images and buttons and items to our page. Snippets and components are somewhat identical, but they are different in how they work. Now let's begin to edit this page. What we're going to do first is we are going to add a document to our page. So that document that we first uploaded, I'm going to add it to my page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete some of this text right here. And let's just assume that this is information for my particular service or whatever I'm offering. So let's assume that it's a club. So we have the information about the club right here, and I want users to download the club information for whatever they may need it for in the future. So I'm just going to put club information right here. So I want the users, when they click this link, it is going to take them to the PDF. So I want to highlight the text because that's what I want to target. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the insert edit link icon right here, which is a chain link icon. I'm going to click on that, get brought to this box right here. Now what I need to do is I need to go search for that document that I uploaded. So in the URL box right here, what I could do is I could paste a URL to a PDF or a document, but since mine is already in the environment, I'm just going to go find it. On the far right side, there's a button right here. I'm going to click on that. Let me get brought to this box. Now, you may not be fortunate to have your documents and images folder in the folder, so what you would have to do is you would have to use the breadcrumb right here to navigate to find your documents and images folder. That is common, so don't be worried if you don't see it in the particular folder you're in. Just be sure to navigate one level out, or you may even navigate 2 levels out to find the documents and images. But once again, I'm fortunate to have it here, so I'm going to click Documents, and here's my PDF. I'm going to click it right here, and I'm going to click Insert. And it gives me a short code right here. This is the text that I highlighted. And what I like to do is I just like to put it in title just to be a bit more accessible. And you don't have to do this, but I recommend it. Every time you're linking outside of Fresno State or linking to a PDF, what I like to do is I like to set it to new window. The reason why I do this is because I feel it's a better user experience when the user is clicking on stuff and navigating your website. Because when they close the new tab that it opened in, then they'll go back to where they started. I would recommend using current window when you're navigating around your department or your website, because you don't want to open new tabs and it be messy for the user. Once again, I just recommend new window for when you're leaving Fresno State or you're adding a PDF. And that's all you really need for adding a PDF, so I'm going to click Save, and there we go. Here is my link right here. Of course, I can't do anything with it because I'm still in the edit mode, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Save and give it a second for it to flash. And there it is. My text is no longer long anymore. I have just a few items, and I have the PDF right here. So I'm going to just click this just to preview, which it should open in a new tab. And there it is. Here's my PDF right here. Perfect. And close that. And every time you add a particular document, it will have the icon of that document. And as you can see, it's kind of tiny, but this is a PDF document right here. What we're going to do now is we are going to add an image to the page. So that image that we uploaded earlier, I'm going to place it into this column. So I'm just going to erase some of this text, not all of it. And let's assume this is a photo of a particular person in the department. So I'm just going to highlight this text because I want to emphasize a little bit. And what I need to do is I need to set this to heading 2 because I already have a heading 1. So the next thing after that would be number 2. So I'm going to convert that to heading 2, and I'm going to do a return. Wherever you have your cursor, that's where your item is going to be placed. So my photo is going to be right here. To insert a photo, you want to go to the Insert Edit Image right here. I'm going to click on that. And here is a similar dialog box to the link, but instead of finding a document, what we're going to do is we're going to link to a photo. So I'm going to click this button right here, and I'm going to go to my images, and I'm just going to grab that one that I had changed the name to, and here is a portrait of Victory. I'm going to click insert. Here's a short code right here, and you do need an alternative description. This is going to be required for all the photos you add to Omni CMS. This is for accessibility. So every time a screen reader goes to the image, it's going to read this invisible text out loud to the user who's using the screen reader. So since that happens, we want to be a bit descriptive of what this photo is. If it's a photo of students walking by the library, rather than just saying students walking, you want to say Fresno State student walking by the Henry Madden Library. We may not know what's happening in the photo, but just take your best shot and just try to be a bit creative and just try to put a description into the photo rather than just saying students walking. But for this example, I'm just going to put photo of Victor E. Bulldog. And I'm just going to copy this text and place it in image title just to be a bit more accessible. We have width and height right here. This is letting me know the size of the image. And I don't need to worry about anything else, so I'm good to go. So I'm going to click save. So as you can see, now we have the photo on our website, and when I click on it, I have a bounding box. When I click off, it's no longer there, so that will not show up when your photo is in the real environment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click save, just so we could get a better view of what it looks like. And there we go. I have my photo of Victory right there, and my link is there also. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the edit mode. Now for this example, what we're going to do is we're going to add a snippet to the page. As you see, these columns right here, we have 2 column and we have 3 column. These are actually already snippets that are on your page. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add snippets to the page. So right here we have a 2 column item and we have a 3 column item. These are actually snippets that you could add to your page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these because we are going to create our own snippets. So I'm going to add the same ones. I'm going to add a column layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the puzzle piece icon. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to get brought to this box right here. So all of these are all of the different snippets we have to offer. I recommend doing the redesign ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type red because this is going to filter through all the redesign items right here. And I am going to insert a 3 column redesign item. I'm going to click insert, and there we go. These are really easy to use and easy to modify. So I'm happy with this. So I'm just going to, of course, delete this text because I don't need it. And don't need this one, so I'm just delete all of this text right here. And now I could feel free to add images, and we already know how to do that, so I'm just going to insert some images briefly. Just grab photos of dogs, and since this is testing environment, I'm just going to add just test. Once again, for your real environment, I recommend actually being descriptive of what's going on. So I'm just going to add these images of the cute puppies. And another thing, when you're adding images, you don't want to have the same alternative description. You want to make sure they're different. So for example, since these are all, different types of dogs, I would probably name them the different types of dogs. But as you see, I added test 1, test 2, and test 3. But once again, do not do that in your real environment. You do want to put what's the photo is actually about. So here they are. So I'm going to click save. And there we go. My images are in the 3 columns right here. This is great call to action, or you could have the services you offer with the text below it. This is really awesome to add to your page. So I'm going to go back to main content, and I'm going to add one more snippet. The snippet we are going to add is going to be the accordion. These are very popular, so I'm going to just do a return, give myself some space. Once again, wherever my cursor's at, that's where it's going to land. So I'm going to go to the puzzle piece icon right here. And once again, I'm going to type red because this is going to filter through all my redesign stuff. I'm the admin, so I kind of see everything. So this is easier for us. So I'm going to just grab the accordion menu right here, and I'm going to click insert. And I'm going to zoom my browser out a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. So as you see, I placed this in here, and there's quite a bit of different tables right here. If you don't know what's going on right away, what a good thing to do is just save the page. So we could save the page and nothing will be live. So that is awesome. So you can save the page as many times as you want, do as many changes as you want, but the page will not be live. Meaning that any changes that you do are not going to be seen on the front end or the user side. So you can make as many changes and saves as you want, but as soon as you press the green publish button, that's when they're going to be live. So going back to the accordion, I didn't know what was going on. So I saved the page just to kind of see what was going on. So if I click on page 1, page 2, there's text right here. So that is perfect. So I'm going to click on main content, which is going to take me to the edit mode. And now I see page 1, page 2, and page 3 right here. So this is perfect. So now I know which one is 1, 2, and 3, and I can add my content right here. And let's say you want to add more cards. It's super easy to add more cards. Depending where you want to put it, all you got to do is place your cursor in between or even after, wherever you would like it. And then you just click it, and then you see that a card was populated. So I'm just going to add just new card to the heading. Then I'm just going to just type test text right here. And once again, to see what this looks like, I'm going to save the page. Give it a second, and there is my new item right there. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the edit mode, and now let's say you want to get rid of a card because you no longer provide that service, or maybe that was a bio page for someone and they left the university. All you got to do is click on that particular item, and there's a menu that populates at the top. All you got to do is click the X, and it's no longer there. So let's save the page and see what that looks like. And there we go. Awesome. It is no longer there. I am back to my 3-page items right here. Go back to the edit mode. Now for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the components. So I'm going to delete this snippet right here, and I'm going to actually delete this photo just so we have some room, because we're going to be adding a component to this right now. Before we do that, I'm just going to introduce them to you. They are really simple to use. They are different from the snippets because snippets are more table based. So what I mean by that is when you add a snippet to your page, you're going to get something like this, and you're going to be able to add text, photos, and links to it. A component, it's not going to be like that for the most part. What it is, it's when you select one of those from the library, it's going to automatically take you to a different little dialog box, and that's where you're going to input all the information. When you save that, then it's going to populate an item to your page. You're not going to be able to see what it looks like until you save it yet. So may not make sense now, but I will walk you through that right now. So I'm placing my cursor right here, and I'm going to go to this icon right here. I'm going to click this. And once again, it's easier for me when I type red because that's going to allow me to select all the redesign items. So I'm going to go with buttons because it's super simple to use and there's not too much stuff of what it's asking. So I'm going to click insert, and as I mentioned before, rather than adding to the page right away, you get brought to a dialog box. And what this information, and as I mentioned before, it's going to be asking for what is needed on this particular component. So since I'm adding a button, it wants the button text, it wants a link, because you're going to have a button that's going to link someplace, and we have the color of a button, and we have the width of the button. So I'm just going to put more information, and I'm just going to link to a random page. So to link to something, you just want to click this button on the far right side, and I'm just going to go to my student 1 folder, and I'm just going to click to my sample page in the environment. We have a few different options. As I mentioned before, when you go to the add-ons and you go to new design resources, there's tons of different things in there. And there we do have a button section, and in that button section we have more information of the button colors and the sizes of the buttons. But for this example, I'm just going to go with default, which is going to be red. And the width of the button, we could either set it to 0, which means it's going to fit the text of the button, or we could do it 25% all the way to 100%. And what this means is the left side of your web page is going to be 0. The far right side is going to be 100%. So as you see, we have 25% of the page, 50, 75, or the full width, which is 100%. So I'm going to just set it to 0 because I want it to fit the text. So I'm going to click save. And so this isn't the button, but this is the component of the button. So to see what it looks like, I'm going to save it and give it a few seconds to populate. And here's my button right here. So more information, and it's sized for the text. So I'm going to go back into main content, and I'm going to modify this. And to modify this, what you want to do is you want to click on the particular component and go to the pen tool. If you click the X, it's going to delete it. So I'm going to click the pen tool, and let's say I want to change the color. I'm going to change it to blue, and I want the width to be 50% now. Click save, and once again, nothing changes until you save the page, and then that's where you're going to see the change. And there we go. It went from it went from red to blue, and now it is at 50% of the page. Go back into the edit mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some information right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the components, and I'm going to add another button. So once again, I'm going to type red because it is easier to navigate around the library. I'm going to click insert, and I'm just going to put, what did it say, get design, new design resources, put that. And I'm just going to link to a random page, so I'm going to go to my student 1 environment, click to subpage, and choose link, and I'm going to leave it as default, and I'm actually going to set this to 100%. The reason why I'm going to set it to 100% is because it's going to be contained within this column right here. So that means it's going to take 100% of the column, which is column number 1. If it was 50, it'll take 50%. If I were to set it to 0, it'll just take the width of the text. So I'm going to click save. And here we go, it is there. Once again, it doesn't take it the full width, but when I save it, then we'll see what that looks like. And there we go, 100% of the column, get new design resources, and then when the user clicks this, it'll take them to that page. Go back to the edit mode. Awesome, great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one right here, and I'm going to add another component right here. So what we're going to add is we are going to go to this icon right here, and once again I'm going to type red just so it filters out to redesign stuff, and I'm going to add 3 white boxes, and I'm going to click insert, and we get brought to this box right here, which has tons of different information that we need to fill in. But I'm only going to fill in some information, I'm not going to fill in a lot of it. So I'm going to set my height of box to 100. And we have a few different heading sizes right here. So since we already have a heading 1 on the page, and this is going to be below it, this means we're going to set this to heading 2. And we'd have no other text, so any other text after this would have to be a heading 3. So now let's move down a little bit, and now we have image 1, image alt text 1, and so on. And after that we have image 2, image alt text 2, and if you don't already know what's going on, number 1 is going to be the left side, number 2 is going to be the center, and number 3 is going to be the far right side. So it may not make sense now, but when I save it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to add an image here, and I'm going to click this icon right here on the far right side. It's going to allow me to browse. So let's go to my images folder, and let's just grab a puppy photo. And since I have a photo, I need the alt text, so I'm just going to put cute puppy. I forget what it was. I guess looking at the camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a link to this, which is going to be on the actual photo. So I'm going to grab a link. I'm just going to go to my student 1. I'm going to grab the page I've been grabbing. I'm going to choose that file. I'm going to add a heading, so I'm just going to just copy this heading one text. Of course, you want yours to be meaningful. I'm going to grab my summary right here, paste it right here, and this is a little editor right here. You have a few other options, so when you click the 3 dots, it'll reveal more information right here. So if you want to add links and other things, you can do that. But for this example, I'm just going to add just the regular text, and I'm going to just paste it a whole bunch of times. And as you see, I have the bold attached to it. So if I'm just highlight that, I'm going to delete that. So there's a little what you see is what you get editor here also. And that is that, but I have 2 other options right here. I could add a button text and have, since it's a button, there will be a link on it. But I'm not going to add a button. I will add it on this next photo I add. So I'm going to replicate the process. I'm going to grab a photo, images, I think this one. Then I need alt text, so I'm going to put even cuter puppy laying down. And I'm not going to add a link to the image, but I am going to add the heading too. Then I'm going to copy the summary, paste it a few times, and remove the bold. I don't like the bold text. And now I'm actually going to add a button. So I'm going to put, just put more information, and since there's a button, I need to add a link to it, so I'm going to add it to the link we've been linking to. So I'm not going to fill this last one in just because we already have 2. Keep in mind on this first one, we actually linked the image, but we didn't add a button. The second one, we didn't link the image, but we did link a button, and you'll see the difference right now. So I'm going to click save, and once again, you don't see it right away, so you just save the page. And just give it a second to populate. And there we go. Here is our cards, and as you see, we have one image right here, and when I hover over the image, my mouse changes, indicating that there's a link on this image. So here's my heading, and here's the summary information right here. The second one, when I hover over the image, my cursor does not change. The reason why is because we actually linked the button. So when I go to the button, my cursor does change, indicating that there's a link there. So you have 2 different options. If you want, you could have more of a summary right here, and then when the user clicks the button, or excuse me, when they clicks the photo, it takes them to that link, and vice versa on this one. You can have maybe less of a summary, but more of a button, so where you could link to. So you have that option right there, and the button component and this component we just added, all the information is going to be the same as far as adding the information. You're just going to be adding photos, adding the text, and linking to where you want to link to. So that's how the components work for the most part. There's nothing really you have to change. The snippets, on the other hand, as I mentioned, those are more table based. And what's cool about the tables and, or excuse me, what's cool about the snippets and the components is you can actually nest them together. So you had seen when I added this photo right here, so it's perfectly fine to place components into the snippets. So I'm going to go to the edit mode just so we could kind of visually see what that looks like. So here is my component right here, and here's, excuse me, so here's my snippet right here, and here's my component. So as you see, it's living within the snippet column right here. So I'm going to save the page. I'm actually going to publish this. So Now I'm just going to go to the green publish button right here, and then for the version description, I'm going to put added items to the page. Once again, totally optional, up to you. Publish, and I'm waiting for the URL in the bottom left. I'm going to click view in new window, and there we go. Just keep in mind that a publish isn't going to be super instant. It takes anywhere from about 10 to maybe 40 seconds. Just keep refreshing the browser and you should see it. And there we go. Here is my brand new published page. Once again, this is just an example page, but as you see, we have the component right here, and we have a snippet which somewhat looks identical to this, but you have a bit more freedom if you were to do something like this, because you could place more text, you could place more photos, but within the component it's kind of married to what it looks like, and you really can't change it too much. But as you've seen, we had different options. I could link the image, or I could have a button on this particular item. And once again, I mentioned a lot of these things that I just went over 2 of them for the snippets and components, but for the most part, the functions work the same across all the snippets and all the components. Snippets, you place your table, you modify the text, and components, you select your component, and then you just modify what it's asking for, such as images and links. Now that we got modifying and saving changes and publishing the page out the way, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a brand new page. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our pages, and there's 2 ways you could get there. You could go to content and click on pages, or you could use the breadcrumb up here and click on back to pages. And that's what I did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a brand new page. So I'm going to click the plus new button right here. And we have a few options. We have the redesign interior page, which is one single page, and we have redesign new section. So I'm not going to create a new section right now, but what this is this is a brand new section, and this is where you could store other files in there. So for example, if in your top navigation you have a about tab, and within that about tab you have a drop down. So this makes perfect sense to call this section about, and then within that section you have your pages that correlate to that about section. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to create one single page. So I'm going to click on redesign interior page, and I get brought to this box right here. As I mentioned before, you do have the option after this to modify the page title, description, and keywords. So for this example, I'm just going to type about us, because this is like a common page that users make. Description, I recommend just writing a description out for your page, but for this example, I'm just going to copy and paste this here. You don't need to worry about tags. Keywords, this is for the search engine optimization. What that means is every time someone searches something into a search engine such as Google, a page will come up based on the keywords that were typed in. So you could put hidden keywords in your web page. You would place those here, and every time someone searches for those specific keywords, your page will be more likely brought to the top in a Google search. But for this example, I'm just going to put about us. So now I'm going to scroll down a bit, and then for file name, what we want to do is we want to give the page a name. So this is only going to be lowercase and no spaces. So I'm going to type about us as one word. You could do it like that, or you do have the option of doing a dash to replicate a space. So I like how this looks, so I'm just going to put about dash us. May not make sense now, but this is what the file is actually going to be named, and this is what's going to populate in the URL. So I'm okay with this, and I'm going to click create. And we give it a second for it to be populated, and what's going to happen now is going to take us directly to that page. And there we go. So do you see the pages already come with this text right here? When you go to the edit content page right here, or excuse me, edit content button, when you go to the edit content button, you could feel free to delete any of this information that you don't need, and feel free to start fresh and modify whatever you need to modify for your page. And I'm just going to save this. And yeah, so now it's blank. We're good to go. So this concludes the training. We're more than happy to assist if you have any questions about anything. As I mentioned, we do have the work order form. Feel free to submit a work order. Let us know any assistance you need. We're more than happy to assist. Thank you for your time, and happy editing.